States, Canada, and Tokyo, Japan. This is the Rich Stevens Radio Network.
Well, hello, and thanks for being here. Rich Stevens on your radio, getting ready for this show. And I got to tell you, I am very excited today because there's some things that are great and there's some things that are not great. I'm not happy about the things that are not great, obviously, but the things that are great, be worth it. Here's where we are right now. Shooting in a Walmart parking lot appears to be a murder-suicide. President Trump is considering supposedly testifying in the impeachment inquiry. How fun would that be? Thousands of Disney Plus subscribers have been hacked. And Ford reveals the Mustang Mach-E, which is an electric SUV. As I said, I'm Rich Stevens. Thanks for being here. 3 people are dead in a shooting at a Walmart parking lot. It happened yesterday in Duncan, Oklahoma. The shooter's dead, and it's unclear if he's one of the 3. The identities of the shooter and the victims have not been released yet. Local schools, of course, were placed on lockdown. And police are now saying that the incident looks like it was a domestic dispute with 2 men and 1 woman dead. And by the way, it was a good guy with a gun that ended this one.
It's a question of how long are you going to let go? How bad is this going to get? I mean, it never used to be every single day you hear a mass shooting where 2 or 3 or 6 or 8 or 10 people die.
Well, but the issue is not the way you're saying it. The issue is there are millions of guns on the street illegally, and that is the problem. You know, a lot of people, especially on the left, they're talking about, hey, we got to get these guns off the street. It's easier said than done. I know several places here in South Florida where I could go right now, 9 o'clock in the morning, and drop $100 or $200 and get the weapon of my choice, illegally, of course, which I wouldn't do because my stuff is legal. But I'm just saying, that's one issue, and that's the bigger issue. Criminals do not pay attention to the laws, hence they're criminals. I mean, this is a very big problem. Yes, it has to do with mental health, but people blame all these shoot-em-ups, if you will, on video games and movies. And, I believe there is a very small part of it that does actually do that. But I find it hard to believe that somebody goes into a movie theater, watches one of these fakakta movies, and the next thing you know, they're out on the street and shooting people up. There's more to this problem. Chicago alone, 60, 70 people every freaking weekend getting shot. Chicago is, I think, the 3rd biggest city in America, and the police force, which is huge, and I feel bad for them, for the police officers, they try their best, but when you go down to the south side of Chicago, you're entering a war zone. Speaking of war zones, 8 more witnesses are due to testify in week 2 of the televised hearings. They include Gordon Sondland, who is the U.S. ambassador to the European Union. It was his direct interactions with the president that are likely to be a main focus in this investigation of whether the president made security aid to Ukraine contingent on it, agreeing to dig up dirt on former Vice President Joe Biden. Also, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, Jennifer Williams, the former Ukraine Special Envoy Kurt Volker, and Tim Morrison are all scheduled to testify today, starting in just a little while. I think just starting at 10 o'clock. And by the way, President Trump says he will, and I'm putting the air quotes, he will consider providing testimony in the impeachment inquiry in order to get Congress focused again. Now, Nancy Pelosi said on CBS's Face the Nation, I'm quoting Nancy now, the president could come right before the committee, talk, speak all the truth that he wants, if he wants. He has every opportunity to present his case. And in reply to the president, he tweeted, even though I did nothing wrong and don't like giving credibility to this no due process hoax, I like the idea and I will, in order to get Congress focused again, strongly consider it. Now, the House Intelligence Committee is going to hold 3 more days of hearings this week. 3 more days. So keep in mind that the president said he would consider it. He didn't say he's going to do it. But I can't imagine, I'm 50-50 on this. Part of me can't imagine that the president would sit down and answer these questions from these, Adam Schiffs of the world. On the other hand, because he is so different than any other president in the way he does things, maybe he will do it. It would certainly make for must-watch TV. There's no doubt about it. And by the way, there's another thing that I got to bring up. I told you about this yesterday, and there's, this thing with Donald Trump going to the Walter Reed Medical Center. Yesterday, late in the day, and overnight, there's so many people speculating that he had chest pain. He did not have chest pain. He didn't undergo any kind of specialized cardiac or neurologic evaluations during this unscheduled weekend visit on Saturday to the Walter Reed National Medical Center. Now, there was a memo that was sent down yesterday, from the president's physician, and it was released by the White House yesterday afternoon, and it was by the main doctor there. It said that he went to Walter Reed for a routine planned interim checkup. This is according to Navy Commander Sean Conley in the memo that was released because of all this speculation over the health of the commander-in-chief. Now, Conley says Trump has not had any chest pain, nor was he evaluated or treated for any urgent or acute issues. But the speculation over the president's health began after Trump, who's 73, showed up at the Bethesda, Maryland Medical Center, which treats military personnel as well as presidents, of course, and their families. This happened on Saturday, and everybody on the left is saying, well, this is very unusual. It's always scheduled. It's never unscheduled and unannounced. And the press corps, who follows in the motorcade in the vans, they had no idea where they were going until they got there. And I think this is just another move from this president, just doing things differently and shaking it up. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's one of the things that I love most about this president, because he's non-traditional. I think that's why we voted him in, because he's non-traditional. He doesn't stand for any crap. He has no problem opening his mouth and saying things and or doing things that other people wouldn't even consider doing, other presidents, that is. Now let's talk about another interesting story. This involves Jeffrey Epstein. The two correctional officers that were responsible for guarding Epstein when he took his own life, supposedly, are expected to face criminal charges this week for falsifying prison records. Now, the federal charges come as soon as today and are the first in connection with Epstein's death. The wealthy financier, 66 years old, died on August 10th at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City while he was awaiting trial on charges of sexually abusing teenage girls. Now, the officers on Epstein's unit at the federal jail in the city are suspected of failing to check on him every half hour as required and of fabricating the log entries to claim that they did. So federal prosecutors offered these two guards a plea, but the officers declined the deal. Now, the expected charges will be filed by federal prosecutors in Manhattan who have been investigating Epstein's death since August 10th. And the people who are familiar with the matter insisted on anonymity. I don't know if I'm saying that word right. That's early. But they were not authorized to discuss the case publicly. And both guards were working overtime because of staffing shortages when Epstein was found. The officers have been placed on administrative leave while the FBI and the Justice Department's Inspector General investigate the specific circumstances surrounding Epstein's death. Now, the city's medical examiner ruled Epstein's death a suicide, but it hasn't stopped the conspiracy theories. I don't believe that he's dead, or I don't believe that he killed himself. A forensic pathologist who was hired by Epstein's family to observe the autopsy has said that authorities could help clear things up by being more transparent. His death ended the possibility of a trial that would have involved prominent figures, and it sparked widespread anger, which it still does till today, that he wouldn't have to answer for the allegations. Now, he had pleaded not guilty to sexually abusing girls as young as 14 and young women in New York and here in Florida back in the early 2000s. I mean, think about it. This guy was a billionaire, a multi-billionaire. It's not too far-fetched that somebody said that somebody was paid off, and you never know. I'm just saying I don't think he killed himself. That's the main thing. Is he still alive? Maybe. I don't know. They never released photographs of him being dead. Not that I'd want to see that, but I'm just saying. Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, his campaign used a stock shot of a black woman to illustrate his plan to battle racial inequality in the United States, only for her to reveal that she's actually from Kenya, where the picture was taken. So the Pete for America site used this stock image to illustrate the Douglas plan, but the woman in the photo is from Kenya and is very confused about why her picture ended up on Mayor Pete's website. They just removed the image sometime last night. I checked. This is the 2020 campaign website. So, all these people that have no freaking clue what they're doing. And it's just, it's mind-boggling to me. Why wouldn't people check out things like that before they actually do it? And the U.S. is bracing for a severe flu season. This is not good news, as Iowa confirms the deaths of 2 older women, and Texas reports its first flu-related child death. Please, not only for yourself, but for me and everybody else, get a freaking flu shot. This is the time to get it. On Friday, Texas health officials announced that the state has seen its first pediatric death. An unvaccinated 5-year-old child has died in the state's Rio Grande region. 2 women, one between the ages of 61 and 80, the other over 81, have died in Iowa. And pediatric deaths early in the season, which usually ramps up in October, may signal a more severe year. Now, after a California child's death was confirmed early back in September, officials warned the U.S. may be in for a more severe season. So please, get a flu shot. If you have insurance, it's covered with insurance. You don't even pay for it. You don't feel anything if you're scared of needles. And it's not true that there's an active virus that's inside the flu. That was a rumor that was going around for such a long time. Let me take a quick little sip here. I think my voice sounds a little bit off right now. I didn't get to sleep till early this morning. That's better. Thanks for waiting. By the way, speaking of drugs, and I always find it interesting that people or scientists or doctors, whoever they are, experiment with different drugs to come out with different things. This is pretty interesting. There's a drug that's used to treat prostate cancer, may help women combat hair loss. Now, this is a small study, about 17 people. More than half experienced significant hair regrowth within weeks of taking the drug. Now, the treatment works for prostate cancer by stopping testosterone from reaching cancer cells, and prostate cancer uses the male hormone to grow, and blocking it not only slows the growth of the tumor, but it may even shrink it. And it's the same testosterone blocking effects that prompted scientists to trial the drug for female hair loss. What about men hair loss? Anyway, it's because along with the genetics and the menopause, for example, the hormone is implicated into a androgenetic alopecia, and that's the most common form of hair loss in women. Now, testosterone, while regarded as a male hormone, is also present in small quantities in women and can attack their hair follicles and then accelerate hair loss in women. This process, by the way, accelerates postmenopause, as when women's estrogen levels decline, the testosterone becomes more dominant. I think stuff like that is fascinating. And while we're on the topic of drugs, this is one that I've heard numerous times and read about it numerous times on different websites and such. People are in fear of statin drugs. And the reason being is because there's talk about the statins causing memory loss. Now we know it's unfounded, and this is a major study. In fact, the drugs may even protect against forgetfulness in some individuals. Doctors said the findings should reassure parents using statins, patients that are using statins, that it's safe to take them. Now, concerns that they may damage cognitive health have made some reluctant to take the drugs, understandably so, but the Australian researchers looked at changes in the memory and brain of over 1,000 individuals aged 70 to 90 over 6 years. They used 13 different tests and brain scans, and on average, the participants had been on statins for 9 years. Now, one of the professors said, we carried out the most comprehensive analysis of cognition in elderly statin users to date, and no results found to support that cholesterol-lowering statins can cause memory improvement. So there you go. If you were scared to take it, now you got the green light. You should go ahead and take it. Burger King has been hit with a class action lawsuit by a group of vegans who claim the fast food giant has made false claims about that Impossible Whopper being a vegan alternative. Wait till you hear this. The suit argues that since Burger King cooks the plant-based burger on the same grill that the meat burgers are cooked on, they can't claim that the Impossible Whoppers are vegan. And it goes on to state that there are no disclosures on the menu letting customers know that the Impossible Whoppers share the same grill. So the lawsuit, who is filed by a guy named Philip Williams, is looking for unknown damages and a court order forcing Burger King to cook Impossible Whoppers on a separate grill. And that's actually a pretty good argument if you think about it. Because vegans coming in contact with meat cannot be called vegans. And here's the thing. A lot of restaurants serve this plant-based meat, Impossible meat, whatever you want to call it. And you have to assume that they're using the same grill and the same pans for the other meat. No? So this ought to be interesting how it plays out. By the way, if you're one of these people that play these quizzes on Facebook, the police now are warning you not to take these quizzes on Facebook. They say the quizzes help identity thieves learn personal information, like some quizzes ask questions that are similar to security questions when you set up an account, like where you were born. Now, cops say do not take the quizzes, avoid commenting on these types of posts, and make sure to adjust your privacy settings on Facebook when you post personal information. Or I got a better idea, just don't post personal information. And there's another thing, another scam that's going around. You have to be aware. This one's called the Secret Sister Gift Exchange. It's a pyramid scheme, which is illegal. And you may have seen this on Facebook too, the Secret Sister Gift Exchange with your online friends that you haven't met. Now, it could look innocent, could look like fun, but the whole thing is really just a pyramid scheme. The Secret Sister Gift Exchange has been a popular campaign, quickly became popular over the last 4 years, and you may see Facebook posts promising that you'll receive up to 36 gifts in exchange for you sending one gift valued at just $10. And the invite asks you to provide your name. I guess, we're in a point where if there's not a controversy, it doesn't... it's just, we're in such a different world today where there's controversy surrounding anything. I mean, I think it sucks that whatever deal she made to make it that they took their entire catalog is just disgusting. By the way, if you have WhatsApp or your kids, you got to be careful because it can let hackers steal users' chat messages, their pictures, and other private information that's been uncovered by security experts. If you leave it unpatched, the bug could actually allow these hackers to remotely compromise your smartphone by sending a video file containing malicious code right into your WhatsApp account. And then when the video is downloaded, something that can happen automatically in the app, the malicious code infects the account and lets the hacker steal your information from the phone. Now, WhatsApp quietly, they didn't even tell anybody, released a patch for this vulnerability last month, and now they say there's no evidence of it being exploited by hackers to steal data. Every time there's some kind of hack, these companies, instead of taking responsibility up front, they always, just wait until somebody talks about it. And speaking of hacking, Disney Plus, it hasn't even been out a week yet, and they've been plagued by technical issues since it launched, and now executives can add hacked user accounts to their problems. Thousands of accounts for the new Disney Plus streaming service are being sold online on the dark web anywhere between $3 and $11. Now, hidden amongst a flood of complaints about technical issues, they found a stream of users reporting losing access to their accounts, and the reports claim that hackers were accessing accounts, logging them out of all devices, and changing the email and the password. That's how they get you. And this blocks the user from accessing their own account, and they made it difficult to regain access as they couldn't use their email address to reset the password. Now, some of the hacked accounts even being made available for free. And one user took to Twitter to say their friend was blocked from her 3-year prepaid Disney Plus account by hackers, and she was on hold with Disney for more than 2.5 hours trying to regain access. No word if she actually, regained access. I mean, you got to be, not only you got to be careful, but you never want to use your passwords, the same passwords for more than one thing. Because if somebody gets your, let's say, your email password, they will then go to other places and try the same password. And believe it or not, 7 out of 10 times, it happens. People do that. And then there's the morons that still, I used to work with somebody who did this, that put the password as the word password, or let me in. Those are two very common passwords, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, those can easily be figured out, so why take a chance? Management at a McDonald's, this happened in California, caught an employee tampering with food being prepared for a police officer. And the employee was taken into custody after the local sheriff's office was made aware of the incident. This employee tampered with a cop's food yesterday, and she was taken into custody. She was booked on one felony count of tampering with food. The restaurant's management became aware of the incident while reviewing footage, which they turned over to police. And the Kern County Sheriff's Office said they obtained a video of her tampering with the food. And based on the footage, her actions were intentional. Now, it's not been revealed what exactly she did to the food, but the Bakersfield Police Department confirmed that a BPD officer was involved in the incident. And by the way, this same girl had previously accused the local police department of excessive force back in 2017 when she had an encounter with police. The officers denied her claims that officer used excessive force, instead claiming that she resisted arrest in October, and a district court ruled in the favor of the arresting officers too. I mean, don't fight with the cops. Respect the cops. They put on a badge and a gun and a vest. They run towards the threat. And one day you might need that cop to help you. And then you'll realize that what you did, it's kind of like these restaurants, these fast food restaurants that they refuse to serve police officers. A friend of mine's a cop here in South Florida. He rarely goes to the drive-thru anymore because he's driving in a police car and he's scared to see what somebody may or may not put in his food. So he actually goes inside, stands there and watches what they do. I mean, that's messed up if you think about it. That's really, oh God, it's sickening to me. There's a deer hunter. This one, I don't know how this could have happened. He mistook his friend for one of the animals, and he shot him in South Carolina. The guy who was shot just stepped down from a deer stand on private property when the hunter opened fire, and the wounded man was rushed to the hospital after buckshot passed through his upper body. He was taken into surgery immediately, and his condition, we don't have at this time, but there's an investigation being conducted by the sheriff's office. Unclear still if the hunter opened fire on his friend also was in a deer stand. So far, no charges have been filed, but, I mean, really? You got a dog? Scientists are looking for 10,000 dogs for the largest ever study of aging. The project is going to collect vet records, DNA samples, gut microbes, and just regular info on food and walks. 500 dogs are going to take a test pill that could slow the aging process. How cool would that be? If you want to nominate a pet, you can visit the Dog Aging Project's website. And the National Institute on Aging is paying for this $23 million project because dogs and humans share the same environment, that we get the same diseases, and dogs' shorter lifespans allow quicker research results. Speaking of results, Popeyes has been in the news over the last few weeks for the crazy sandwich that people are waiting in these long lines. But now in New Jersey, police are just fed up with these motorists that are blocking traffic while they're waiting in these huge lines to get this new Popeye chicken sandwich. Now, there's one Popeye's location shares an entrance with a nearby Starbucks, and when the drive-thrus get busy, the lines can back up onto the road and further out into the main street, blocking traffic. So now they put up a sign by the restaurant which reads, "A sandwich isn't worth a ticket. Do not delay traffic." You know, I just can't believe that we have to get to a point where we do this stuff. There's a Florida woman intentionally stayed at a Walgreens after the store closed, was found smoking and making food inside. The alarms went off the next morning. Manager saw the woman packing items into a backpack. Police arrived. They found the woman smoking a cigarette in the bathroom. They said that she likely stayed inside because she's homeless and didn't want to be out in the cold. It's been cold here the last few nights in the 50s. And she was arrested and charged with unarmed burglary. Again, you know, hello? Listen, I would love to hear from you. And the way to get in touch with me, there's two ways, basically. You can call my personal cell, which is 305-707-7878, 305-707-7878, or you can text me at that number too, of course. Or you could just go to richstevensshow.com and fill out the contact form, and I will respond to your comments right there from the Rich Stevens Show. You can also check out my blog. There's some cool pictures. It tells you other places where you can listen to the Rich Stevens Show, and just a lot of cool stuff, fun stuff too. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, by the way, I'm down 26 pounds now, and more to come. I appreciate you so much. Have a great Tuesday.